You were in your fucking element, weren't you? Which was good to see.
I loved it. Yeah.
Fucking hell, that's your dream interview. Welcome. We are Neil,
Luke,
and Dave.
340-somethings reminiscing on the runners and riders of 90s guitar music.
we look at the bands who soundtracked our youth on both sides of the pond and interview some of our heroes from the bands that defined a generation.
You'll hear about the good, the bad, and the ugly of 90s guitar music.
This podcast is Stupid and Contagious. Episode 22. Lenie Mets from MAMBO Taxi Jolt today. It's a really interesting one. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too.
Before we get started, how's everyone's week? Dave, is it snowing there? It's cold, isn't it?
It snowed a bit yesterday.
Did you get your sledge out?
No, it didn't settle.
Luke, snow?
I did do some curling this week.
Cold one out.
Well, you could say that. Yeah. You could say that. Yeah.
Yeah, you said you were going curling. I had a conversation with my mate Shahid about this. And we reckon, well, I said that I think that's one sport that literally anyone could become world champion at.
No.
Yeah.
You're so wrong. You're so wrong.
Literally, all they do is sweep the thing in front of it.
So it's really difficult.
Anyone could sweep. I agree with that. Surely anyone could be a sweeper.
Exactly, anyone can sweep.
But you're not only a sweeper. You everyone does.
Well,
both.
there's only one of them chucks a rock, don't they? The rest of them
only one
just
at a
sweep.
time, but they all chuck it.
I think they always have the same rock thrower.
No, they don't.
Oh.
They have a team. Anyway, it was really good fun. It's great.
Did you win?
No. Our team. We had 4 games. We lost 3, won 1 on our team. But, it was good. It was good fun.
That's pretty poor.
Could you lift the stone?
Well, you don't lift them. You slide.
But could you?
Of course I could, Dave. Each stone's 20 kilograms.
Did they slide you down the rink?
Well, no, but when we were the first hour, they teach you how to do it basically. So we had to practice if we fell over. So we had to practice if we fell over on our front, we had to slide across the ice on our elbows to kind of recreate how we would kind of fall, and then we had to slide across the ice on our back in case we fell backwards. It was good laugh.
Sounds like you had a right jape of a time.
We did. It's great.
I hate that teaching you how to do it thing. Why can't you just do it? Instead of waste a whole hour learning it.
I mean, do you know how to do it?
Yeah, you just slide the rock down the court, don't you?
How do you curl it?
Spin it a bit.
True. Yeah.
Update on whether you want it or not on my documentaries this week.
I'll get on him.
I watched a good one on the Smiths. They really hated each other, didn't they? You can see why they've never reformed. I doubt they even ever speak to each other.
Yeah, I mean, why would you?
I think they hated him from the start, old Morrissey. This documentary, it pretty much said he basically just kept telling Johnny Marr that he had to tell the other two what to do all the time and stuff. And when they went to sign the contract for the record deal, there was only 2 spaces for signatures and stuff, and it was all very sort of, yeah.
Yeah, I read Morrissey's autobiography a few years ago. I mean, what a dick.
We won't get everyone.
No.
That's 80s anyway. 80s, innit? We don't want them on. Nothing to do in the 90s.
Yeah. I mean, he had solo stuff in the 90s, but it was...
Yeah, fuck that. Was that when he had the bush in his arse?
No, that was 80s.
That was a flower.
He took it out in the 90s.
It was a bush. He had a bush hanging out of his jeans.
I think it was various flora and fauna.
He was just a bit of a cunt, wasn't he, really?
He is. Yeah.
Go on, give us a little tidbit then why he's such a cunt from his book.
Well, no, a lot of the book was really boring because he just went on for pages and pages and pages and pages, like all this tedious, like legal stuff about how he was like a fucking genius and so he was entitled to all of the royalties. But it went on for on and on and on, and nobody gives a fuck. You know, it was.
So he was basically justifying that he should have had the greatest share of the royalties.
Yeah.
So just doubling down on it, basically.
Oh yeah.
And then I watched a good one on Motorhead. That was good. Don't really, not a massive Motorhead fan, but I saw it and thought that might be quite interesting. It was quite interesting.
Yeah.
They're from Britain, weren't they?
Yeah, they're all dead now. All the original members are all dead. All three of them. Yeah, it was a good documentary. It was
I mind a bit of Motorhead.
And then I just watched one that was generic on 80s music. It was just like, they just crammed everything from the 80s in there. There's a lot happened in the 80s music-wise. So.
Oh man, I hate those kind of retrospect. They were.
I like them. I really enjoy them.
No, music ones are okay, but like the general ones, there was like a glut of them a few years ago, weren't there?
Yeah.
Everyone's saying the most obvious fucking shit. Oh, remember curly whirlies? You still buy fucking curly whirlies, you cock.
I know what you mean, mate.
All that kind of stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's on Channel 5 every weekend evening.
Really?
I quite like it, actually. It's always the last thing I watch before turning off the telly.
Yeah.
Nile Rodgers was on it, and I just felt compelled to tell everyone how obnoxious I find him. But
what's your beef with Niall, man?
Why, man?
He is a genius, right? But he's one of these. He's a bit like Billy Corgan. He knows he's a genius. He keeps talking about himself all the time, and it just really annoys me.
In the third person.
But he's in a documentary being asked about himself. What's he supposed to talk about?
He can talk about other things from the 80s or bands, but he always sort of hones in on what he did, sort of thing. I don't know. It's just, he's always great.
He did all of it.
He did do a lot.
It's hard to avoid it.
It was quite interesting, though, because I knew this before, but you know that Madonna's first album, that's basically just a Chic album with her singing.
Really?
Yeah, he got all the members from Chic to record the album.
I didn't know that.
Anyway, back to this week's interview with Lenie Mets. I think it's fair to say a lot of people probably won't really know who MAMBO TAXI are, so Luke.
Well, I couldn't find much information, to be honest. I was sticking mainly to Wikipedia, which I'm embarrassed about this week. I managed to find a few extra kind of interviews and stuff, but basically I'm going to give you a very, very basic overview.
It's difficult, man. I tried to find some photos for the pod art and the YouTube thing. There's hardly any photos either.
Garage, rock, indie punk, riot girl? How does that sound?
Me and Dave don't really know anyway, so yeah, that'll do.
All right, that's how I'm categorising them. They started off as a 5-piece, then they became a 4-piece, all-female band formed in 1991 in London, and which talks about in the interview, but they were basically all living in a squat together, and then she moved over from Belgium, and they basically formed a band immediately and started releasing singles a couple of years later. Also, I was looking around, and I think she was also playing in a band called Animals That Swim, if you remember them.
I remember them, yeah.
She was also playing bass for them for a while, I think, at the same time, between 91 and 93, just when the MAMBO TAXI were kind of getting their sound together. They released a few singles in 1993. Prom Queen, Poems on the Underground, I think was their biggest hit, although it didn't get anywhere near the charts or anything like that. And a great song called I'm gonna check I got the title right. Do you always dress like that in front of other people's boyfriends? Which is good title.
I like that. So I had to listen to them. I hadn't really heard them before. I have to, it's not really my kind of thing, but yeah, I did quite like them now. I love the videos. They're really sort of They're so 90s, aren't they? The videos.
They're very
fun.
DIY.
Yeah, I liked that. I liked it. I'm going to sort of skip to the interview just quickly, just to nip in, because she mentions in the interview that none of them could really play, but that doesn't come across in the music, I don't think. I thought it sounded although it was quite punk, it was quite a full sort of melodic sound, I thought. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
It didn't sound
Yeah.
like they were just they all sounded quite competent to me.
But she did also say in the interview that they did tour a lot, and they did play together a lot, and they were living together. So I guess they got better.
No, like I say, it's not my sort of thing, but I liked it. I thought it was good. I think there's sort of the sort of band I probably wouldn't put on and listen to, but I would love to have seen them live.
Did you see the one that's on YouTube? The one in Leicester?
Yeah.
Look
good.
Well, speaking of that, so they toured with a load of people we like. They toured with Senseless Things, of course. They toured with Carter, Corner Shop, Huggy Bear, Stereo Lab. So all of these kind of good kind of 90s bands they ended up touring with. They had lots of lineup changes and it all got really complicated. And a couple of them left. And I think one person came in that was from Huggy Bear, actually.
Okay.
And yeah, a couple of them left and they formed a band called Voodoo Queens, if you've heard of them. And that was just to say we're getting going. So then, yeah, they brought in some new members and they released their only album called In Love With, as in Love With MAMBO TAXI, in 94. And that's their only album. And they broke up in 95, basically.
What's Riot Girl?
Well, it was a social, political, musical movement of the early 90s that was kind of dedicated to kind of feminism and things like that.
I'm glad I asked because I thought it was a band or something.
Oh, right. No, it's a genre. It's a genre. Or it's more of a movement, but it's a kind of, the genre of music of that time.
Dave, did you have a listen?
Yeah, but, it just shows the limitation of Spotify because there's not a lot on there.
There's one song on there and it's by far their best one.
It just shows the limitations of stuff in general from that sort of era. Like, you can't find any pictures. In 30 years' time, when people want to find pictures of bands in this era, there'll be fucking too many.
Yeah, what I did find was a session they did with Mark Radcliffe on YouTube. Did you see that?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Which was kind of, they were 4 good songs. I liked the songs. That's why I was listening. But it was a weird rapport that Radcliffe had with them.
It was, wasn't it? I thought that.
It's like he couldn't really be bothered.
But it seemed very performative, like he was pretending that he couldn't be bothered.
Yeah. Anyway, they were good songs. I liked them.
Maybe they knew each other or something.
No, it didn't come across like that. It was weird. I picked up on that as well, Dave. It was weird. Yeah.
Perhaps he was having a bad day.
I think he was trying to be cool and dismissive and cool. And he just ended up coming across like a dick.
Yeah. Sums it up well.
Yeah.
We won't get him on either, then.
Yeah. he might come on.
No, he's not. I think he's great. I love Mark Radcliffe, but he was a dick in that. He was.
Yeah.
I think he's great.
Yeah, he can call people out for being a dick. That's fine, isn't it?
Sure. I'm not saying he is one. I'm saying he was one at that time.
As you'll see in the interview, it was originally going to be me, Luke, and Lenny, but I couldn't really do the interview anyway. But then I didn't know much about the band, and it turned out I think it's a better dynamic between her and Luke anyway. There was a really good chat. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was good.
I enjoyed it too. Let me finish off because after MAMBO TAXI broke up, Lenie and Mark Kids from our favourites, the Senseless Things, they formed a band called Jolt in 96. Great band. Had a great run of 4 singles and they released like a 6-track mini album in 97 called Punk Jungle Rules, which I've got behind me. And just a really interesting, fresh new sound when that came out. I loved it. I say in the interview, but I remember I was at university and I went to go to this record shop under the archway. I've forgotten the name of it, and I bought a copy of it. Yeah, the week it came out. It's just
I remember.
Just loved
when
it.
You got it. It's heavy, isn't it? It's good. It's heavy. I like it.
Yeah. It's a full-on sound, right?
Considering there's only 3 of them, it's
Yeah.
it's a big sound.
Yeah.
I love his vocal
yeah.
anyway on anything. So
I just like the dynamic between them on that. So good. And the other members went on and did other kind of musical stuff. I said Voodoo Queens, band called Baby Birkin, you might remember. A band called The Action Time, who I saw in Brighton once. I don't know if they were based in Brighton, The Action Time. Kind of a retro kind of 60s vibe thing going on. Yeah. And that's Mambo Taxi. Here we go. That's all I could find.
all right. Let's just get right to the interview. Here's Lenie Mets from Mambo Taxi and Jolt. Enjoy.
Hello, Lenie. I've just learned the pronunciation. Thanks for coming on. I mean, how are things?
Things are hungover
Nice.
right now. I don't know. It's very boring. I went to my corporate job's Christmas party. There's nothing rock and roll about it.
Oh, come on. Are we?
But this, I could tell you some stories for sure, but not last night was very run of the mill.
Sure.
Because we can't be squatters, musicians in this day and age anymore. unfortunately.
No. Are you still making music?
Well, no, not at the moment. I mean, I'm sort of threatened here and there vaguely. I mean, it's time. I've got like kids, I've got a mortgage. I'm single. I'm a single mother. It's rough and tough, and everything's expensive. And right now, I am waiting for my kids to leave. Hopefully soon. I mean, their dad manages to put out one album after another, but that is kind of also on the back of my work because I've done most of the parenting like most women do.
Yeah. Well, you were kind of writing about that even back in the day, right? That kind of topic.
I suppose so, yeah. I mean, I'm still very angry angry about
Right.
women's place in society and life. It's just so frustrating, and it doesn't get any better. Do you know what I mean?
Why do you think that is? Why isn't it getting better?
Why? That's a good question. I think that there's some very, very deeply ingrained ideas about. I also think that
Mm,
we are becoming more global, and other parts in the world are way worse.
mm,
I
mm,
think,
mm,
yeah,
mm.
I mean, it's kind of crazy that I have to see my daughter go through the same shit that I went through, in terms of being harassed, and it's just so ingrained. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a big topic, and it's
Yeah.
frustrating. I would still write about it, and I still do write about it.
That's really cool. That's interesting, like you were saying about that, like having to take on the bulk of the parenting and stuff like that. I've been reading quite a lot about social reproduction theory recently, and a lot of that is in there, right? That kind of hidden work that's done. Yeah.
Yeah, the invisible, because it is a lot about the invisible work that
Yeah.
you even take that on without thinking about it. Like that's just what you do, and I feel so scattered. I'm struggling to focus. I don't know whether that goes for everybody in life, but to I think I don't know, but I think men find it easier to be more focused
Mm,
because I don't remember like being like ever since I had my children,
mm,
I can't even read a book anymore because it's just
mm.
like everyone wants your attention all the time. Like
Yeah.
even now, they don't leave. They're 18. I have twins,
Okay.
and they never leave me alone. It's just so
Oh, that's nice. But you're right. I think, yeah, it's not that it's easier for men. Men have it made easier for them, right?
yes, yes,
Yeah.
I think so, and that's in terms of salary and everything like that as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, and so I've been a single parent for since. Well, quite a long time now. I had another relationship after my broke up with their dad, but I've
Mm.
been managing, a flat in London and stuff, and it's just so scary. Like,
Yeah.
if like something goes wrong, you're like, oh my God, I'd be homeless. It's not something that we thought about. Like, I moved to London in about the early 90s, I think 1990, and I moved
Mm.
into a squat in Islington,
Mm.
uh, where now the business, no, not the business design center, some kind of shopping mall is there now. And yeah, and it was just like such a crazy life. It was so interesting, meeting loads of
I've got this
people.
totally romanticized kind of idea of kind of late 80s, early 90s London, that kind of squat culture of
It was
creativity.
romantic.
I'm glad to hear it.
I mean, we didn't have any toilets, but it was still romantic.
Overrated.
I remember, moving into squats and having to install our own toilet, and but we definitely were a community. It was a definite
Mm.
community, and it was so exciting because everyone you knew was doing the same thing, and the
Mm.
whole group of people around you were all doing that. I think,
Mm.
now that's so difficult. I would find it difficult. How do young people find a peer group? Because they don't meet anyone.
No.
I mean, it's all very anonymous and online and stuff, and like the physical world is really important for a human being to develop, I think.
Sure.
As a
Yeah. If you're all living together and creating together, and
Yeah.
yeah.
And people were doing different things, and like, people, photographers, artists, musicians, a lot of
Mm.
musicians, and like, yeah, it was just a really, really fun, interesting time, and I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
It was a really good experience.
It's amazing. And before that, so you're from Belgium, is that right?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, were you doing music and stuff when you were there?
Yeah, so that's how I kind of ended up in London, because I was playing in a band with my
Mm.
mates. And it was more like I was playing a band because people told me I couldn't be in a band, like, because you're a girl.
Sure.
Oh, you got me in a band, sure. And I was like, fuck off. Like,
Yeah.
and then that became my goal, just to like, because they told me that. That's kind of the reason
Mm.
why I started to play music. Although I always wrote songs, even from when I was very young.
Mm.
I always wrote. So anyway, I ended up being in this band with my friends who
What kind of
they were,
music was that?
it was like punk, oi, very,
Oh,
and it was a load of skinheads and me.
yeah.
But
Blimey.
in Europe, sort of skinhead bands, I think, were a bit different in that they were very left wing, or the
Oh,
one that I was
right.
in anyway. Yeah,
Mm.
they weren't like they weren't doing Nazi salutes or anything
Mm.
like that.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
So yeah, so we were very like it was almost Marxist, like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they let me have a go on the bass.
Okay.
And I was pretty terrible. But anyway, but we ended up doing a tour supporting the Blaggers ITA.
Oh, wow.
And
Yeah.
we went all around Germany.
Mm.
It's quite interesting tour. And then I sort of met Jason, who was the drummer in the Blaggers, and he was like, "You
Mm.
must come to London sometime, la di da."
Mm.
And then he was living in a squat with all these girls, and they were
Mm.
like, "Oh my God, you must join our band." And then I was like, "Yeah, okay then."
Oh, wow. And
And
that was it.
that was it. But prior to that, because I think I was about 20 at the time, prior to that, I was very, into the punk scene in
Mm.
Belgium, and we used to go to gigs all the time, in the Netherlands, Germany. And that was kind of cool about being there, because you could just travel to different countries to go to a gig. And we did that a lot. Like, we went to the
Mm.
Netherlands, we used to go Germany, France, to go see all the punk bands. So,
Mm.
and then the punk bands used to come to Antwerp, because that's where I'm from. And
Mm.
they all used to stay in my boyfriend's house, like all of them, literally
Yeah.
all of them. Like, and that was pretty crazy as well. So it's not like I came here and, you know, everything was revealed to me. I was definitely already part of, you know, punk scene, like hardcore scene. You know, I went to all the gigs that are in there, so it's definitely in my blood. Yes,
That's
and
great.
punk still is in my blood. I still feel like a punk more than anything else.
Yeah. Blaggers ITA. I was listening to them a couple of days ago, actually. Blaggers
Yeah.
ITA. They had a very strong kind of, you know, anti-capitalist thing going on, right? And yeah, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you know, they were a bunch of good guys, you know, but unfortunately, like, and I still see Jason actually quite. He's the drummer.
Mm.
And you know, I still see him, but I think none of the rest. Yes. But anyway, it was really good to end up on a squat with him and then all the girls and then the group around that. And that's why I was so lucky in a way to end up in London like that, because all of a sudden I had, like, you know, I knew so many people, and it just, you know, it was just crazy. I never looked back, you know. I've
Yeah.
been here for 30 years, I've never looked back. It's only now I'm thinking, I really want to get the fuck out of this.
Is that because of like Brexit and all of that shit?
Yeah, it's really, it really is. If you put it down to one thing, I would say
Yeah.
Brexit was really a devastating thing for me. It was the first time that I felt, wow, you know, I just couldn't believe it. And ever since then, it's just gone downhill, really. But it's my home. I don't think I will move, or I can't see myself moving back to Belgium. Or the food is good there. The food is good. But we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see how it works out.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Did it like just like feeling like less welcome? What's the kind of
Yeah,
the
I don't know. It's just, it seems very subtle. You know, for instance, I mean, I live in East London, Whitechapel. The demographic has completely changed. There's no more Europeans here. You used to see a lot of Europeans here. There is none. But you know, it's like a vibe. You know, it seems further. I think we were better sort of being closer tied to Europe. I think this country is turning more into a kind of an America,
kind
uh,
of
without the
isolationist thing?
without the space. You know, it just doesn't work. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I think that there's some kind of, there's a loss to that connection. I believe. I really think, and I think you see that in not necessarily in the people, but you know, maybe in the decisions that governments make about ties and everything like that. And I really feel that change, and I think it's a real shame.
Yeah. All right, let's get back to the music. So you're
Music.
in the squad. If the band started, would you start writing songs together straight away? Did it come together pretty quick?
We just went for it. We played a few gigs. I mean, we were musically pretty inept, but varying degrees of ineptness. Or I think one of our guitarists, the American one, she could play, but you know, all the rest of us. I mean, you know, obviously I was a singer, so. But we played 3 gigs, I think, and then we got offered a record deal. It was like, oh, okay.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
so we, and it was Nick Brown from Clawfist, and it was
Yeah.
really fun. What was good is that there were so many people doing the same things. So, you know, we were always playing with loads of bands, obviously the Huggy Bear and the, you know, but all the bands on To Pure Ouija, that kind of the connection. There was the 3 of us sort of thing that had some kind of quite close, maybe geographic thing. I think they were all located around sort of the West London, Notting Hill area. And
So I mean, talking like I'm trying to. I mean, I'm a bit. I'm a nerd for record label shit. So I'm trying to get the timelines right. The bands like, I mean, Huggy Bear, right? Um, Also like Biss and Stereo Lab. They were kind of all on those labels, right?
well, this kind of formed because of us. Like, we went to Scotland, and
Oh,
they were
what do
like,
you mean?
because they were younger, they were in the audience, and that's
Mm.
how they started. Uh,
Oh, really? So they came to see Mambo Taxi and formed Abyss?
Correct. Yeah, because I
That's
remember very
amazing.
well we played a gig in Paisley, which is like, where the hell are we? It was like the roughest shithole on the planet. But
Mm.
they were at that gig, and I think pretty much they were the only audience. This.
I'm famous on the podcast for being a big Biss fan, so that's
Are
really cool to
you?
hear. Yeah,
Well, you've got
yeah.
me to thank for that.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I love that. Right.
Well, I wouldn't be too big-headed, but anyway, I'm sure they would have done it without us. I actually really, really don't. I mean, I'm quite cynical of nature, but I always, when people say, "Oh, the music," they wouldn't be blah 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 without blah blah
Yeah.
blah. I think no, that's rubbish.
Right. But I don't know.
It's
Yeah. There are those sparks that,
because
if you can't see it, you can't be it kind of thing. Do you know what I mean?
there is that, of course, yes, but I think there is so much that you don't see or don't know. There's always like, oh wow, why didn't I know about this band? Like you still discover
Yeah.
music that you think, oh, never heard of these. What, it's just
Yeah.
crazy.
It's just with it doing
Yeah.
this podcast, it happens like on a weekly basis. Yeah.
Mm.
Just
So,
yeah, it's great.
so people pick up things, but like I said, I'm not here like I think it's great. Like it was absolutely really good fun to be part of this, and it was because of everyone that was involved in it. And it was all the bands that were doing it as well, and all the connections that were made. And it's like you kind of see that on Facebook. Like, maybe I don't really go on Facebook anymore, but you see the
Mm,
connections between people, and it's like, oh yeah, that's
mm.
that that's like plays out on that sort of thing. But
Do you still
it
keep in
was
contact
great.
with anyone from that kind of scene?
Well, oh yeah, definitely. I mean, there's this one festival in London which I find quite crazy. It's the Clerkenwell Festival, and
Mm.
every year it's like that's the day where I see everyone from the 90s, because everyone goes there. But I still have contact. Yeah, I do. Last year did quite a few sort of Lexington pub quiz with some members of MAMBO TAXI, and I still
Mm,
see people.
mm.
I would say that, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
that's great. That's great. I mean, Bamboo Taxi often got called a riot girl band. I mean, are you comfortable with that tag?
Well, I'm comfortable with it now because it kind of sounds quite cool, doesn't it? To be like, yeah, I
Sure.
was in
Yeah.
the first wave, like I was there, like kind of thing.
Yeah.
The older you get, the more sort of vintage, like you could call yourself.
Sure.
But so yeah, I mean, at the time, obviously, and people always do that. They always claim they don't want to be pigeonholed, and no, we're not.
Mm.
No, um, it's weird that they're. It's kind of like the way you should be, right? That you don't want to. It's because you're a musician. You're like, I'm the fucking coolest of the planet. So you're always
We're
gonna say,
unique.
"Fuck that!
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
want to go with that corporate bullshit or that name or whatever." And of course, because these terms are often coined by people on the periphery who want no more, like they want to be in the band, but you're the one in the band and you're saying, fuck you, like, I don't want to
Mm.
listen to what you have to say. So
Mm.
it's all
Mm.
that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it did have connotations as well, I guess, with at the time, because it was rough being a girl. It still is, as we talked about, but
Mm.
because they had to rail against quite a lot of crap, and
Mm.
then to be labeled for that um was kind of wearing, like, why does it
Mm.
matter what gender I am? I'm playing music, but you
Mm.
constantly were kind of reminded of, like, oh, you're a girl, man, you're girls in
I
band.
mean,
You're like,
did you get that? Like, what's it like to be a girl in the band? Those kind of bullshit questions. Did you
yeah,
get those a
oh,
lot?
yeah,
I mean,
constant.
what the fuck do you say to that kind of question? What's
Well, you can't, like, and so you were very much judged on your gender, and like, oh,
Mm.
it was very tiresome. It got,
Mm.
and I think that's the main reason why we got so fed up with it and talking
Mm,
about it and
mm.
Riot Girl, like, yeah.
Yeah, but I think like a lot of people don't realize like the politics came before the music in Riot Girl, you know, and it was integral to the whole thing. I mean, how important was feminism or feminist politics to the band or to you to the band?
Well, to me personally, it was very like, like I said, I didn't come to London, like with a blank slate. Like,
Mm,
I had years of protesting, I didn't do nothing else before,
mm,
like I was
mm,
always in a protest. And
mm,
in fact, protesting seemed to be more of a way of life there than it is here. People do protest, but I think they're a bit more, you know, yeah, people in Belgium are a bit more vigilant, or militant even,
mm,
it was very important to me.
mm.
Yeah, so
But I think a lot of that kind of anti-capitalist stuff didn't have that much interest in kind of feminist issues or things like
no,
that.
no, 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 that's true. That's true. I think it's very difficult because you know, of course I would call myself feminist 100%. I'm
Mm,
really, it's very difficult because that there were like street protests by women, on the street, and they were fighting for, their reproductive rights and everything like that. And it really still makes my blood boil, especially since, we are going backwards. But luckily, like, people, the world is such that, it's almost impossible for a women to have children now, even if they want them. But anyway, that's a different story. But,
mm,
to be it's what I'm saying is within a music context, because we just wanted to play music. We just enjoyed playing music together, and we didn't want to constantly going on about the feminist thing.
mm, mm,
Um, so that was a difficult thing to manage sometimes. I think Bikini Kill that probably did it very good.
yeah.
They were very political, very, but also musically very exciting, and managed to
Mm,
find that balance a bit better than
mm.
I find it generally, and I wasn't sort of interested in bringing it out on a music forum. I was like, I just want to be an entertainer.
Mhm. Did you get to meet and hang out with, Bikini Kill or Bratmobile or any of the American bands?
Yeah, I think we supported Bikini Kill. Yeah, I mean, but it wasn't like we had a huge sort of. I mean, I think other girls in the band. I don't want to speak to them, but I think they had more of a thing.
Mm.
I mean, it's my memory is not that great, so I'm trying. But yeah, we did play together, absolutely, and I still find
Wow.
them quite an exciting band, to listen
Oh,
to.
again, another one of my favorites. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, I do, because I did see them at Brixton, and they didn't mention us on stage, and I was quite blown away by that. They
Oh, wow.
mentioned MAMBO Taxi on stage. I think that gig was in 2019.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, and then, they just, it was completely out of the blue. I was there as a punter. I wasn't there like, "Oh,
Mm,
look at me, I'm part of this." I was there to look at them, so I didn't expect that.
that's
That was
amazing.
pretty, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I never got to see I've seen, like I saw, like, La Tigra, like, 3 times or something. I never got to see Bikini Kill, though.
Oh,
Yeah.
I really like La Tigra as well,
Yeah.
actually, and I think they were playing down the road from here not that long ago. Was it
Mhm.
La Tigra? I can't remember, or it was Bikini Kill at
Mm.
the Troxy, actually, in my street, because I live in Shadwell. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, cool, cool. But yeah, okay, but you weren't that engaged with, like, what's going on in America and all of that? You weren't, like, sending off
Well,
for zines and all that kind of stuff?
no, I wasn't actually. No, I
Yeah.
think on that thing, I wasn't that, no, not in that way. No, I think other people were probably a bit more, because I was very much into it. I want to be in a band to play in a band. I didn't want all that other
Yeah.
stuff that came with it.
Yeah. Sure, sure, sure. Well, speaking of that then, can you talk a bit about the kind of the 60s kind of garage rock sound that's, in your band? I'm in Japan. I've been living here for a very long time. There's a great tradition of kind of female garage rock, garage punk bands over here. Can you talk a bit about that part of your sound, which I really love about the Mambo Taxi sound?
Yeah, well, you know, and that part is actually not much to do with me, to be
Oh,
honest,
okay,
because
okay.
that sound was very much a kind of a thing that wasn't part of where I was from, and when I came here, it was a sound that sort of I thought, oh wow, interested people are mixing that up with
Mm.
they were, you know, 60s garage, and I was quite happy to be involved in that, but it didn't come from me.
Okay, okay,
Came
okay.
from the other, and I'm sorry to disappoint you on that one. I
No,
mean,
that's fine.
mainly I was the lyric writer, you know,
Mm.
and you know, we sort of wrote together. We just put the music together, and that was definitely a massive influence. And I think a lot to do with Angeli and stuff like that. They were very much into, you know, going to the frat shack and all of that kind of thing. And
I don't know that. That's a
well,
club, is
this
it?
was a club. This was a club at the time, and that was a very
Mm.
sort of 60s go-go kind of
Right.
sound. Yeah, garage
Yeah.
sound.
Well, there's a video on YouTube of you playing in Leicester, I think, and you do a cover of "Have Love Will Travel" in
That's
there,
right. Yeah.
and it sounds
Yeah,
great. It sounds great.
yeah. No, it's really fun to play it actually. You know, but like I said, it didn't really come from me that.
Yeah. Well, okay. Well, let's talk about the lyrics then, because there's some heavy shit in
Yeah.
those lyrics. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. I
And
mean,
I
a
suppose,
song. Yeah. Go on, go on.
yeah, and they're it is pretty heavy. And I wrote all my songs. That's why it's something that I haven't done, because I just literally just went bleh, you know.
Yeah.
And it was pretty heavy, you know. There's like I remember, because I wrote about, you know, being sexually abused as a child and stuff like
That's the
that.
Velvet Youth, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. And you know, and I remember we drove up to Manchester once to do a radio show. I think it was Mark Radcliffe, you know, it was
Again,
live.
that's on YouTube. Yeah, I was listening to that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and you know, and you know, and I think he introduced a song or whatever, it came on, but and afterwards he was like, well, I don't know what to say after that. And you're just like, it's difficult topics. And often people just want to like, oh yeah, let's move on.
Mhm. I mean, did
um,
you did you enjoy making people uncomfortable?
well, I made myself
I was
uncomfortable.
gonna say you have to sing it night after night. That must have been fucking
Yeah, it
not
was,
easy.
but you know what? And the one thing I will say is that the support I got from my bandmates to do it was actually the main thing that
Wow.
they made it possible for me to do
Mm,
that. So I will always be grateful for that. Uh,
mm,
and yeah, and it's important to talk about these things. You know, I mean,
yeah.
um, and it's very difficult not to feel a sense of shame around it, because it happened to you, and that
Mm,
happens to people a lot. um
mhm.
and and to overcome that, I think, yeah, you have to put it out there, but it's not
Yeah.
easy. It's not
No.
easy. And you know, I'm quite proud that I did it, you know. That's but like I said, for me the main thing was that I was with people who supported that as well.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
Interesting. Um, how about the song about Brit from Suede? So, do you think? Do you think? I don't know. Do you think that would be seen as a bit problematic these days?
Yeah, Jesus. Do we
So, well, for the listeners, let me get the title right. It's Brit from Suede. It's about time you got laid by a man. I mean, what's your take on it?
No, I mean, you know what? I think it was just like, because he was just going on about like how gay he was without being gay,
Mm,
I suppose.
mm,
And you know, you know, when you go back to, and I think it was a kind of, you know, stop jabbering on about it, because I recently, you know, came up onto some material, and I realized, and it still is, but how fucking awful it was to be gay, you know?
mm, 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 mm.
Um, you got beaten up, you know, way more chance of even getting murdered, you know, just for being gay, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I guess because we also had a lot of gay friends, and you know, I think we were just sort of a bit fed up with him pretending to be gay when he wasn't gay, and I think that's all it was. It was like just to highlight the fact, look, it's not a picnic being gay in any shape or form, and it still isn't, you know. And it was to give that message.
Do you
That
think he
was it.
was pretending?
I don't know, but he, was playing up with it a little bit. I don't know, but does it matter? Do you know what I mean? I think we felt his attitude was a bit shit around it, you know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and we came from, of a group and a background of like, we knew what it was like to it wasn't it's a really difficult thing. So we had a lot of gay friends, and that was our support, calling
Yeah.
him out.
Did you ever run into him? Did you ever speak to him?
No. Probably one of the few maybe I never sort of ran into, and I was a pretty gobby person. I would definitely go up to people and tell them to fuck off and everything. I'm not proud of that, but yes, I did do that quite a lot.
Anyone in particular?
Yeah, well, no one stands to mind. Maybe Liam Gallagher was really rude to me once. But
Oh, go on, tell the story.
it was not a story. I just bumped into him in a nightclub. And he was rude to me because he was like, oh, because I was a little bit like, oh my God, is that Liam Gallagher? And he was like, shut your mouth or something like that. So, like, because I was a bit like that.
I would be.
Really sad.
Yeah,
I don't want to talk
be.
about him. I hate Oasis, by the way. Okay, move on.
All right, that's all right. That's all right. Yeah. So, the band broke up 95. Is that right? I mean, did anything happen to kind of hasten the demise, or was it just time?
Well, I think they were. I was sort of. Yeah, it was. I mean, I think they were fed up with me. I think they did a tour. They went on tour without me because they were like, "Look, we're going on tour. We don't want." I was like, "But I'm the lead singer." I think I just had a bit of ideas above my station or something. I don't know what happened. This kind of shit happened. I was
Yeah.
living with Mark Keds at the time, who's also sort of breaking up with his band or whatever. It was a very strange time, but obviously,
living together as partners, or as
yeah, we were at the time still. Yeah, then we ended up in a band together, and then
Jolt.
our relationship. Yeah, that's right. And then the relationship broke up, and then we went in that band. I mean, in terms of because he was a very driven person. He was a hustler, basically, a massive hustler.
Yeah.
I wouldn't. Talented in definitely in certain ways. Extremely dark character as well. As you must know, he's gone now. He spent about 30 years killing himself. But yeah, he opened a lot of doors at the time because he just had come off being with a record deal with Sony. So he did have a lot of connections, but we never actually managed to get a record deal with that band. So we did
you formed your own record label, right? Is that right?
We did, yeah, we did do our own record label because he did have a lot of connections, so it was fairly easy to do that, to be honest. And then we did get a publishing deal. So unfortunately, like, because the things didn't really happen, I think what he expected would happen. Like, it didn't really. I mean, I think we worked a lot and we worked really hard, and it was really funny because the other day I was walking past Britannia Rose Studios, which is in off Essex Road, and yeah, we were in there all the time demoing because we had that studio for free. So we worked so hard, and we worked so hard on the songwriting, and I think maybe because we were a three-piece, and that's really what we wanted to do. We wanted to be like dual male female three-piece. But for some reason, like, it wasn't clicking. People were having in terms of like getting record deal and stuff like that. So we never got that. We never really got that money maybe that other people might have had.
Well, if it's any consolation, I went out the week it came out and bought a copy. So
Oh, brilliant. No, and I think, and it, we're thinking about it as well, because the thing is, he was quite a forceful character.
yeah.
But we worked creatively, we worked quite well together, like in the studio. It was really fun always to be. And that record that's behind you, we did
Love it.
record that in on New Sound, so
Wow.
yeah, it
I
was
mean,
kind of like, yeah, it was really, really, really fun to do, fun to work with.
I remember it
Absolutely.
being like a really exciting kind of fresh sound when it came. I hadn't really heard anything like that. I mean, how did you come up with that kind of
Well, like
combination
I
of
said,
sounds?
yeah, because I think Mark was listening to a lot of Jungle at the time.
Sure,
I think
sure.
all those nightclubs. I mean, it was a bit over my head. I was like, what do you see in that music? I can't. But all those clubs you go into and everything's dark and you can't see anything. And you
Yeah.
can't even see who's there, and then they play this fucking crazy music. Like, I think he was doing that quite a bit, and then, let's just mix it up. So yeah,
Mm.
it did see. I think it was too because we love the rock bands, like stuff like Anastasia Screams and all those kind of rock bands, like American guitar bands,
Mm.
and then, but I guess we wanted to maybe create our own sound rather than just being another guitar based
Mm.
straightforward. And and the thing is, that song Was It Wild? I mean,
Oh,
honestly,
so good. So good.
that is just so fun to play, like
God,
so
yeah.
fucking fun. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, just playing that. Just, it was so good to be able to be just heavy and wild and
Yeah.
crazy,
And like you said, that's got the dual vocals, the male female vocals. It
Yeah.
just totally works. Yeah. Yeah.
We did, and that's what we wanted to do. It's a shame that the thing about Mark is he also had a very self-destructive streak. So
Mm.
and he repeated this process after that band, because that's early on, right, Joel?
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
mid
96.
90s,
Yeah. Yeah.
and after that his life just fell off the cliff,
Mm. And how much did you
and
keep in touch with him over the
I
years?
was in touch with him a lot, and because up until, but not so much the last years, like, but he was living like literally 2 minutes from here.
Oh, really? Mm.
Yeah, and that's where he died. Like, his girlfriend rang me when the morning he died, please
Oh my
come,
God.
and I was like, what the fuck? Like, it was COVID, and I went down there, and she came out, and I was a bit like, I don't want to see the body or anything like that. And anyway, luckily the police turned up, and but it was COVID as well. I was like, I don't want to end up with COVID. I didn't know what he
Mm.
what he had died from anyway,
Mm.
but I mean, the thing is, it's very difficult for me to look back, even though, like, looking back, because he did me a very bad turn as well, because one of the Jolt songs was
Mm.
used on a Libertines track.
Okay. Oh,
And
really?
yeah.
Which one?
So there was a song
Mm.
called Hey Kitten,
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that song, it was very strange, because I was listening to the radio one day, and I thought, and it was the Libertines came on, and I thought,
Mm.
wow, that sounds familiar. Why does that sound
Mm.
familiar? And it was my lyrics.
Oh, really?
And anyway,
What's the song? What's the song? What's the
well, it
Libertine
was
song?
their number one hit song, basically. Can't Stand Me Now.
Can't Stand Me Now, which is, yeah, that's the
Yeah.
most, I guess it's the most famous song, right?
So, and that song, Mark ended up sort of getting a third of the royalties for that.
Mm.
And I was like, and I've been trying to fight this, and it's been really, for the hurt that I feel from that,
Mm.
because he basically spunked it all on heroin or whatever he was doing, crack heroin.
Yeah.
But what's been very painful that, you know, after his death and everything, I did actually speak to his mother about it. She just turned around to me and told me to fuck off. Like, I've been trying to get this sorted, and you know, and I'm thinking, I wrote that song. The only reason why would he get royalties for that song? You know, and it's just, you know, you're banging your head against the wall. But anyway,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
bit of a lost cause, to be honest.
Really, really. That's interesting though. That's really interesting.
You know, when you get into that, it's a murky situation.
The more I'm learning about the music industry from doing this podcast, the more I can see what a fucking horrible place it is,
The
right?
thing is, like, you know, we all go into it in a very naive kind of sense, but you know, you're so dumb. Like, honestly, you're so dumb. And some people come out like, yeah, I don't know. I feel quite angry because the thing is, you know, I'm struggling, like, you know, like every normal person is struggling, like, you know, I'm bringing up kids, like, and you're just like, wow, you know. But he was like that. He was a very dark, devious, kind of a nasty, you know, he had a very nasty side to him. And yeah, you know, I got screwed over, you know, it happens every day. But
Sure.
I'm happy. The thing is that the creative side of things with him was really good, and he was a very good partner in terms of, you know, you know, being, you know, like Prince, like, you know how I love Prince so much because he championed women, you know, in
Yeah.
his, you know, around him, and it was like, it's so great to see. You hardly ever see that, but he was
Yeah.
kind of a bit like that as well. That was a good part of it. So because it's very difficult as a woman sometimes to be taken seriously as an artist, as a whatever, um so without being condescended or patronized or, you know, everything like that. So
Sure.
a voice, and and I have good memories of that.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
also
Great.
a lot of thing, but anyway.
Sure. Oh wow, I've kept you so long. I apologize. Okay, one more question, if that's okay. Basically, we ask every band member that we interview the same question, and it's a difficult question, but which other band from that era would you have liked to have been in? So,
My God,
I
quite a
know. I'm
few.
sorry.
I mean, I really liked Minxes. I still see them.
I don't know
They were like,
them.
yeah, they're a band on Too Pure. I
Okay.
believe this. I like them a lot. I mean, gosh, yeah. I mean, we did actually end up sometimes playing in each other's bands, like as a sort of thing.
Mm.
Um, don't know. That's putting me on the spot, but yeah, I
That's
like
a great answer. Okay, Minxes. It's a
them.
band I don't know, but it's a great answer.
I still feel very passionate about music. I still I am a bit cynical about going to gigs, and what a freaking rip off it all is. You know, like, you know, those festival or whatever festival, and there's a gate. You don't go so far as that. I mean, what the hell, you know? When I think about,
Yeah.
oh my God, the
Yeah.
times when, you know, we were just down the front. I mean, I did go
Yeah.
and see Black Flag play in 2019
Oh,
at Cameron
nice.
Palace. I just rocked out for like 3 hours. I just love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Do you
yeah.
listen to much new music?
Well, I mean, new music, what even is it? You know? Yeah, I do. I do sometimes, but I mean, you know, when you're a parent, like my daughter really got into K-pop. I have to say, I got really thrown into that. Oh my God.
It's huge over here, so yeah, I know, I know.
You know, I did go to quite a few gigs, and man, I got completely, you know, honestly, I was listening to the new album of this, the new album of that. So
It's popular for a reason, right? It's some
I
good stuff.
find it hugely entertaining, and yeah, I got really sucked into that one for a while.
Uh,
She's a bit over it now. I'm still listening to the new
still,
album from Monster X or whatever, but
Sure.
it was really good fun. But
That's cool.
yeah, I'm trying to get yeah.
Back into the
But
punk scale. Yeah, that's good.
my New Year's resolution was to maybe to go and see a bit more shows and stuff like that. But yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, thank you. I'm going to stop the interview. I'm going to press stop the recording if that's okay. Don't jump away just yet, though.
There we go. Lenie Mets, Mambo Taxi Jolt. She's lovely, right? Really nice. I really enjoyed that one. You were in your fucking element, weren't you? Which was good to see.
I loved it. Yeah.
Fucking hell,
What
that's
can
his
I
like
say?
dream interview. Talking about feminism for an hour.
Well, we didn't talk about it that much, but I thought it's really interesting. Like she was saying stuff about gender roles and stuff like that. It was it's really interesting to hear.
Just before we go into the rest of it, you can't just drop in stuff like social reproduction theory without giving it a bit of explanation for us.
You're saying it as if everyone knows what you're talking about.
Social reproduction theory.
You're just sort of saying, look at me, look how much I know about feminism. I'll drop this in.
Well, it's a form of like feminist Marxism that looks about how like capital is reproduced in society. So like one of the main kind of ideas behind Marxism is that the worker needs to come to work every day in order to make money for the capitalist, and in order to do that they need to have like the bare minimum amount of money and nutrition in order to live, to be able to get up and come to work. And what is overlooked in Marx's analysis is how that happens, basically, which is women do it. Women are the ones who are responsible for feeding and clothing and making sure that workers get to work on time, right? And a lot of this work is this is seen as a form of oppression, etc., etc. And interestingly, Mambo Taxi had a song called "Push That." It's called "Push That Pram Under the Train," and I read an interview with Lenie. She's talking about that song in particular, and she called.
I've been saying Lenny. Did I say
think
Lenie?
I say at the start of the interview, don't I think it's Lenie. And in that, she called it invisible labor, which is basically what social reproduction theory analyzes. It's the invisible labor that goes into reproducing, capitalism and the workers.
Yeah,
that's social reproduction theory.
Although we were taking the piss out of you, it's it was really interesting. And I think she spoke about she said that it's frustrating that it's still an issue in society, still that women's place in society, same shit, different day. It's still the same as it was sort of back then for her daughters,
Yeah, and just the idea that she'd love to be doing music, but she's got to take care of the kids and have a job, and it's not you just don't have time, basically. Even if you've got the money, you haven't got the time.
I wrote about that here because I found that really interesting, that because of their role as a predominant child carer, their whole sort of careers get stifled. And I knew about this in terms of people on the career ladder, blah blah blah, but I never thought of it in terms of music. But I guess it's the same. You haven't got time to do the music if you're looking after.
You need to read some social reproduction theory, man. It's all
well,
in there.
Maybe I do. Yeah, makes sense. Does make sense. I found it really interesting.
Yeah, I went on parental leave for 6 months when I was in Sweden.
Oh, you get about a year
You're in Sweden though, weren't you?
Yeah. But I experienced what it's like. You go back and you're just completely out of the loop on everything. So
you have
it's
to
not
sort of
just
start again, don't you?
Yeah, it's not just that maybe you don't get the good jobs or you get paid worse. I mean, it's because you just get left behind.
Yeah. Things move on while you're away. But I thought it was interesting that in terms of music, like I never really thought about that before, that you might have all these amazing female songwriters that haven't been able to write the music they want because they're too busy raising children and stuff,
Yeah, she said that men seem able to focus 100% on something.
Yeah.
Because they're able to not give a fuck about what's going on around them, whereas often a mother would just not be able to do that.
Even if you've got huge artists, say like, I don't know, Pink, say Pink, she's got a daughter. And I'm guessing when her daughter was younger, she had to spend most of her time looking after her daughter, raising her daughter, which, you know, doesn't leave much time to invest in writing your music and stuff.
Thank
you know.
God.
Sure, she's probably got a few nannies.
Yeah, it's a bad
and
example.
fucking shit like that, but yeah.
It's a bad
I know
example,
what you mean.
but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's the first one I could think of, female artist. Yeah, so that I did find that interesting. I also found it really interesting. I don't know much about it, but you obviously know about that whole sort of squatting culture of the late 80s.
Only what I've read about it. But yeah, it's a kind of an era that kind of fascinates me, which is the idea that you could live on the dole, and it was, you know, you could take that time to be creative and find, you know, who you were as a musician or whatever, because there was that safety net to be able to do that, and there was, you know, legal framework that allowed you to be a squatter and stuff like that. So I'm interested in that kind of era.
Yeah, because
basically, you know?
Jeremy Leveler spoke about it as well when we spoke to him. Yeah, it is interesting. You just can't do that anymore, can you? But I don't know, squatting, is it? I don't know about the ethics of it, whether it's wrong or right. I don't know.
But the side effects of it were great, weren't they, for a culture?
Yeah.
I mean, now those people just have to be at home with their parents, not mixing with their friends.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
But speaking of parents, that Velvet Youth song, that was luckily one of the four that I could hear.
That's full on, right?
But that was step parents, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want to explain to people that might not know, Dave? She does talk about it she did talk about it in the interview, but not in detail.
I think she was talking about Velvet Youth, just about an experience of being abused by who I assume was
it was step-parent.
Father. Yeah.
We were talking about last week when we spoke to Ed Smash. He was brave, talking about his experiences with suicide and dealing with his friends' suicide and all that sort of. But this is you know, to put that out there is something else, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's really brave. But like she said she probably wouldn't have done it without the support of the rest of the band, and that, which is really nice to hear, you know.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, that's what music should be, like that, right? Music should be like bearing your soul, right? I think it should. I like that. I doubt many musicians really lay it all bare quite like that, you know.
No, and you know, you shouldn't be forced to, but yeah, if
No. No. I didn't force anyone to. I didn't say that.
not claiming you did. I'm just pointing out, you know.
You implied I said that everyone should be forced to talk about everything.
I did not imply a single thing.
You had to get your Biss reference in, didn't you?
Oh fuck, man! I love that story. That was so good.
I bet you pissed yourself when you heard that, didn't you?
I literally pissed myself. Yeah.
I bet you fucking did, you little bastard.
It's great. It's great. Just going to see them and then forming a band. That's so cool.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. You know, but yeah, as soon as you mentioned it, I thought, oh, here we go. Fucking. Talk about that.
I didn't know she was going to say that, did I? I knew that I think she mentioned in the Mark Radcliffe thing that they
I bet you fucking did. I bet you had had a chat with her before and said, oh, have you got any good Biss stories that we can put in here? And I can talk about them too.
Nah. Well, it did make me very, very happy though. It's great.
See your little face light up.
Guilty.
It was quite, I thought the bit where she was talking about how everyone constantly went on about how, well, reminded her that she was a girl in a band. And it was just like, all right, what do you want me to say? Sort of thing.
Yeah. There's nothing to say, is there? Even with all of my claims of feminism, you know, when I gave the rundown before the interview. I described them as all female. Why would I have done that? I wouldn't have said all male band, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a weird one. It's difficult.
You fucking arsehole.
You're calling me a
Yeah, I
misogynist.
thought you were really fucking disrespectful to her. We should have, actually, yeah, I take it back. Me and Dave should have done the interview. You fucking just, you were just
that was-
rude.
That's very insensitive of me. I apologise.
I thought a bit about Brett Anderson was really interesting.
So I wanted to get into this a bit deeper, but I kind of sensed a little bit of prickliness, so I kind of backed away a little bit.
She probably regrets it, right? She probably regrets that song.
I don't know if she
It
regrets
didn't
it.
seem to from what she said, but I mean, I think it's slightly problematic.
I thought she had a good point, personally, if you want to have a fight about it.
Okay, but bisexual people shouldn't have to prove their bisexuality to, especially the straight people, right? Most bisexual people have not had sexual experiences with people of, different genders. Maybe they're attracted to them, but most people don't have that experience because they don't have the opportunity. But you shouldn't have to prove yourself, right?
I think, yeah, I think her point was it was really fucking hard to be gay in the sort of 80s, 90s.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of, I don't know, he put forward this sort of, I don't know, rose tinted's the right word, but
Bit like cultural appropriation, perhaps, when you say it kind of nick someone else's culture.
yeah, kind of.
Normally it's with race, isn't it? But here
Yeah.
it's with
Yeah.
sexuality.
Yeah, and I guess he did do that, right?
I don't know. It's a
sure.
difficult one.
It is a difficult one, actually. It's the more I think about it, the more I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought it was interesting anyway. I do find those sort of conversations interesting in general. So
I think it's slightly problematic personally, but there
you wanted
go.
a fucking scoop, didn't you?
No, I didn't want any scoop.
Oh, so you knew it.
I
Knew it was problematic, and you brought it up anyway.
I said my opinion. My opinion is that it's problematic. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying my own opinion. That's all.
The level of disrespect you show our guests, it really is unbelievable. So going on from that, obviously, she said some things about kids.
That was really interesting because she said a lot, both positive and negative.
Yeah, she did. It was balanced.
You could tell
wasn't
there
it?
was a really complex, interesting relationship there.
They had a relationship, so it's going to be different from someone who just knew him, right?
And it's really interesting to hear that on the day he died, Ked's partner called her and she went round to the house. That was really interesting to hear.
We did have a chat about this before because we weren't sure whether we should put everything out from interviews, but we decided we should because I don't think we should start censoring our interviewees or deciding which bits people should listen to and shouldn't listen to.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Obviously, Mark isn't here to put forward his response on anything she said, but there's not much we can do about that, unfortunately. But because I did find the bit about the Libertines song really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do feel for her on that. I mean, what a nightmare. And there's nothing she can do about it.
Yeah.
Because he's gone.
That would really
so she'll never get it recognised. I did listen to this song, and there was no credit either for Keds on it.
I think there is. No, that's the problem. He got the royalties from it, but she
but I didn't see his name on it either. But
oh really?
Yeah, I definitely knew that he was credited on that song. She also said that she loved playing music with him because he championed women and those sort of things, So,
that goes right back to our first interview with Ben, where he said, he believes that Senseless Things were a feminist band.
Yeah, and she confirmed it. That's one of the things
Really
that drew
reminded me of
her
that.
to playing with him.
she used the word hustler to describe him. What do you think she meant? Just that he was driven and
Yeah, I
doing
think
anything
so.
he could to get success and stuff.
Yeah, I think it's like, well, I think in the first episode I talked about him being like Kurt Cobain in that respect, like, you know, getting his music out there, sending out the demo tapes, you know, doing the work, hustling it up. Yeah, which is, it's kind of exactly the same picture that I think Ben painted of him as well.
Yeah, he was sort of the driving force behind it. It seems like he was the driving force in most of the bands that he was in. He was just very focused and driven on success.
I thought there was a high level of good stories in that interview. Not that there
Yeah, it
aren't in
was.
others, but
She was very interesting. That's it for this episode of Lenie Mets from Mambo Taxi Jolt. If you have enjoyed it, please do give us a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube and leave us a comment below. Let us know if you've got any memories of Mambo Taxi or Jolt, or just that whole Riot Girls thing. Leave us a comment below. Start a conversation. Episodes weekly at the moment, but subscribe to the channel and then you can be the first to watch them. If you're listening, please do rate, review, do all that sort of thing. Do whatever it asks you to do. It really helps us in getting the podcast found. Luke, mixtape.
Well, there's only one Mambo Taxi song on Spotify, and it's not their best song, to be honest, but that's on there. And also, I made the executive decision not to include the Libertine song that she talked about, out of respect for her. So
Because you wouldn't get any money for it.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, there's some good stuff on there. Yeah, very kind of heavy, a bit of Riot Girl. Because I mentioned it, I took the excuse to put some Japanese kind of garage punk bands on there as well.
Bet there's some fucking Biss on there, isn't there?
There is a bit of Biss on there. Yeah.
hoping for a bit of K-pop as well.
Yes, there's a bit of K-pop. Yeah, at the end. Yeah.
Next week we got Tim Dorney from Flowered Up, which is a good one.
And Republica.
Republica, sorry, yeah. We're looking forward to sharing that one with you. That's it for this one.
See you in a minute. I thought you were waiting for me.
I was.
I thought, yeah.